Hey everyone, welcome back to Inside the Cage, where we bring you the latest and exciting updates of UFC. First, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Dana White pushes for Strickland versus Adesanya rematch after UFC 293. Recently, Dana White is fired up about making a quick turnaround for Sean Strickland and Israel Adesanya after their showdown at UFC 293 last night, even though Adesanya got a rematch right after losing his title to Alex Pereira. Whereas Dana White is all in for giving him another shot against Strickland. He suggested that Izzy absolutely deserves it. So it sounds like we might be in for a thrilling rematch soon. However, he acknowledges that there might be a compelling story behind it. Also, White admits that he doesn't have all the answers, but is eager to hear Adesanya's perspective. "I think you do the rematch, absolutely," White told the media. "The rematch is interesting. That could be the thing, too. When you think about you're going into the Alex Pereira fight, such a big fight, and you've been in there with this guy so many times, and then you overlook Strickland. You come in, and I don't know. I don't know the answers to these questions, but Israel does, and I'm looking forward to hearing it." All in all, White goes on to analyze Adesanya's performance in the fight, sharing his observations. White emphasizes that only Adesanya knows what was truly going on, as there could have been various factors contributing to his less-than-stellar performance, such as off nights or personal issues. Israel looked like he was in slow motion. He looked like he couldn't get off. He looked like he was stiff tonight. He looked very slow. Only Israel knows what's going on. There are a million things that could have gone wrong. Some days, you wake up, and you're just not there. He looked bone dry tonight, standing up tall. He looked very slow. He looked like he couldn't get off at all. Even in the fifth round, when everybody knew he needed a knockout to win the fight, there was no sense of urgency to try to finish the fight. So my fight friend, let's wait for the positive response from Adesanya and his thrilling performance in the octagon. Cormier opposes immediate Adesanya rematch with Strickland. After Dana White shared his take on the whole immediate rematch for Adesanya thing, guess who else decided to jump into the mix? Daniel Cormier. During the post-fight broadcast of UFC 293, DC made it clear that he's not exactly thrilled with the idea of Adesanya getting another immediate rematch, and it seems like there's a difference of opinion brewing in the MMA world, whereas Daniel Cormier is making it pretty clear that he doesn't think about Israel Adesanya's rematch. Essentially, he's drawing a comparison to his last fight. In this context, DC's opinion is different. He believes it's time for the division to move forward and not grant Adesanya an immediate title rematch. Cormier goes on to highlight that Sean Strickland's victory opens up a whole world of exciting new matchups in the division. He even mentions Jared Cannonier as a potential contender. But he seems to think that Dricus du Plessis is the likely next guy in line, especially given that he was originally supposed to fight on the same night. Cormier suggests that du Plessis might be regretting missing this opportunity to face Adesanya. He also throws in a note about Khamzat Chimaev and Paulo Costa, hinting that if Chimaev has an impressive win over Costa, it could shake things up in the division even further. The last time Izzy lost, all we could speak about was he should be next again. I don't think that this time. I don't think he should fight for a belt next. I don't think he should get an automatic rematch. I think the division needs to move on a little bit. Daniel Cormier continued. It's like a brand new world, right? Like The Little Mermaid, a whole new world. Sean Strickland now opens up the possibility of so many fresh matchups. Cannonier also weighed in and had a victory over Sean Strickland. But I've got to imagine Dricus du Plessis will be the next guy, especially after being the one who was supposed to be here tonight. I'll tell you, he's kicking himself in South Africa right now, because if there was a time to get Adesanya, tonight was the night. There was a lot that went into this fight, and Sean Strickland did what he was supposed to do, but I figure du Plessis, unless Khamzat Chimaev just completely wipes out Paulo Costa. In a nutshell, Cormier believes in bringing some change to the MMA world. So what do you think about matchups in the division instead of an immediate rematch for Adesanya? Makhachev versus Volkanovski 2 in the works for UFC 300. In the recent developments of UFC, Alexander Volkanovski defended his featherweight title against Ilia Topuria. Now he's got his sights set on a rematch with Islam Makhachev. Earlier this year in February, he tried to snatch Makhachev's lightweight championship, but it didn't pan out. Now, it's no surprise that he's already planning his next moves. During a recent press conference at UFC 293, he dropped the bomb about his plans for the future. You got the Ilia Topuria fight that's always going to be there. You got that rematch that I want against Islam Makhachev. I want to be active. Islam and Charles Oliveira are going at it soon, so I don't want to be waiting around, so I'll do early next year, I think. Undoubtedly, the first bout between Alexander Volkanovski and Islam Makhachev was a real nail-biter. Naturally, the idea of a rematch has got everyone buzzing. Then guess what? During that same press conference at UFC 293, someone popped the question about the possibility of these two going at it again, this time at UFC 300. I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, for sure, I think that would be great, especially with me getting my hand raised on that one for UFC 300 would be perfect. But again, we will see what we can do. But I think that's one of the bigger fights you can make. I truly do believe that. A lot of people want to see that again. It was very, very competitive, and I guarantee you I get it done next time. Guys, if you're enjoying the video, we'd love your support. Just hit that subscribe button to motivate us to bring you more exciting content. Volkanovski responds to McGregor's jabs with UFC 300 challenge. Conor McGregor was up to his usual behavior during UFC 293. Certainly, the guy just can't resist the urge to stir things up on social media, especially during those UFC pay-per-view events. And let me tell you, it went on from Saturday right into Sunday like clockwork. So while UFC 293 was happening and even after it wrapped up, McGregor was firing off tweet after tweet, sharing his thoughts and feelings. One thing that got under his skin was when the UFC broadcast mentioned Alexander Volkanovski as the top pound-for-pound fighter in the promotion. That didn't sit well with the Irish fighter, and he made sure everyone knew it. Drake loses big on Adesanya's UFC 293 title loss. In the last, Drake's roller coaster ride in the world of UFC betting took another twist. This time, it was tied to Israel Adesanya's title loss in his fight against Sean Strickland. But when Adesanya didn't win that way, Drake ended up on the losing side, losing $920,000. Earlier this year, he scored big when Adesanya knocked out Alex Pereira and pocketed a cool $2.7 million. But it hasn't all been smooth sailing. He took a hit when he bet $275,000 on George Masvidal to beat Colby Covington, and that didn't pan out. And then came another blow when Charles Oliveira choked out Justin Gaethje, costing him another $400,000. But it's not all doom and gloom for Drake. He had a turnaround with a $1 million victory when Adesanya defended his belt against Jared Cannonier. Plus, he's had a series of six-figure wins with bets on fighters like Paddy Pimblett. To show his appreciation, he even gifted Rolex watches to those fighters. And to cap it all off, he banked $1.7 million when John Jones snatched the UFC heavyweight title over Cyril Gane. So yeah, when it comes to UFC betting, Drake's had his ups and downs, but he's been in the game with some big moves. All right, guys, that's all for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. See you at the next one. Until then, goodbye.